My phone got lit up this week by realtors, really worked up, almost on the verge of panicked all week long. Not because of interest rates hitting 8%. They did that this week. Not because of the inventory crisis. Not even because of the affordability crisis. What got everybody so worked up? The outrage was regarding the case against the National Association of Realtors regarding your commissions. The case prompted NAR to allow listing brokers to offer buyer's brokers $0 in commission when putting a listing in the MLS. Now, this video is going to get spicy, but before you slam your laptop shut, you need to hear this. The realtors I work with are good realtors. Those of you watching this are in my sphere. You are the ones who have a solid value proposition. You act in the best interests of your clients and you continue to invest in yourselves and your skills so that you earn every single dollar of that commission. You guys are the best of the best. But if I could speak freely, which I'm going to in this video more so than I've ever done before, I do not believe you guys are the majority. There are a lot of realtors out there whose commission breath could not have been stronger this week. The desperation in their voice was not hard to notice. And the sad part was they couldn't be less concerned with how these changes could negatively impact buyers who are already so discouraged. But before we get too far down the road of opinions, let's look at some facts. The trial for the lawsuit just began this week in Kansas City, Missouri, and it will be followed by a similar lawsuit elsewhere very soon. NAR is not actually the main defendant. Keller Williams, RE/MAX, and Home Services of America are. It's a lawsuit filed on the grounds that the participation rule, which requires realtors pay and offer compensation to other licensed realtors, that participation rule forces sellers to pay both agents. The requirement of that, if it is in fact true, violates the Sherman Antitrust Act. The current commission structure has been in place for a long time, like over 100 years. And the National Association of Realtors argues that it actually benefits consumers, both buyers and sellers. But then, in a not so good look for them, on the eve of the trial beginning, they announced that they were changing the participation rule. They're now going to allow buyers' agents' commissions to be any amount, including $0. Then the Real Estate Board of New York said they will prohibit listing brokers from paying the buyer's agent. These moves have been interpreted as admissions of guilt because if the participation rule was truly designed to protect a free marketplace and MLSs are not inherently designed to steer buyers away from listings that are not offering the best compensation to realtors, then why would any changes need to be made? It remains to be seen what the jury will decide. But the disruption to our industry has already begun and could dramatically shift some power dynamics. How, you ask? Well, the National Association of Realtors has a lot of money. They have a big presence in Congress and elsewhere. They claim to be very confident they will win this case. Yet, they've already made changes in response. The commission rule change actually may not be as impactful, though, as the reaction to it was. Up until the change, a buyer's agent's commission could be listed as low as 1 cent. Now it can be $0. The Northwest MLS in Seattle has already had this in place for 4 years, and still 99% of listings offer some kind of compensation to the buyer's agent. So listing agents may just continue to explain to their sellers that offering a buyer's agent commission is in their best interest because then buyer's agents will be motivated to bring their clients to this listing. So we may not see any noticeable difference. This all might have just been an unnecessary exercise of panic. Or buyer's agents will buckle down now on getting buyer-broker agreements signed. And those buyer-broker agreements will state that their commission is going to be paid one way or another. If buyers are forced to pay their agent directly, I'm not sure how that plays out. But I can tell you this. Buyers are already pretty squeezed by interest rates and home prices and funds to close. Of course, they were always the ones paying the seller because the sum of their down payment and the financed mortgage that they were going to have to repay was what made up the sale, right? That's what made up the seller proceeds, which were then used to pay both realtors. So when you look at it like that, it's always been the buyer who paid both agents. But can you really look at it like that? Because it wasn't a hard expense to the buyer and it was a hard expense to the seller whose net proceeds, the money in their pocket at the end of the transaction, was impacted by the commissions paid. It's worth noting here, by the way, that other developed countries have very different commission models. Yes, ours has been around for over 100 years, but other countries like Australia, New Zealand, the buyer's agent commissions are more like 1% to 2%. So does our higher commission structure inflate the cost of housing in America? Will this change bring down home prices? Will it push buyers to let the listing agent have dual representation? Would that even be good for them if the listing agent represented them too? Well, what should you do? From time to time, I will see an agent, a realtor locally, get on their pedestal and say or post something like, "Hey, darling consumer, listen up because I'm deeply invested in what's best for you and I want you to shop around, shop until you bleed for the best interest rate because interest rates are negotiable, truly. But don't use an online bank because they're really annoying and no one's going to accept our offer if you do. Even though online banks will most definitely have the best interest rate." Yes, you heard that here from me. The only risk to using a shitty loan officer is they don't have any market knowledge. So you may not be getting the best advice. You might be actually getting bad advice. You could get placed in the wrong mortgage product, but it's only 30 years, right? You could get hit with hidden fees at closing or down the line. You could miss deadlines in your contract, which would risk your earnest money deposit. And you could be beyond stressed by a lack of clarity for months. But again, this is coming from your realtor who just wants you to know that you should shop around for lenders. Never mind that the commissions paid to them are actually the largest line item on the closing statement. They want you to focus on saving $13 a month by calling every lender and sharing your personal financial information across as many platforms as it takes to ensure identity theft and waste enough time and energy that you actually start to hate mankind in general. But again, it is their duty to share with you that interest rates are negotiable. Well, as it turns out, so are commissions. So it's time to get really clear on your value proposition because buyers might start shopping around a little more seriously when it comes to their realtor. Don't panic though. I've got you. Like I said, I don't work with losers. So if you're watching this, you are a good one. Since I've been commoditized for over a decade, I can help you in this arena. I can help you put together everything you need to share with a buyer. I'm really clear on why a buyer should work with me over another lender, even if that other lender might be advertising a slightly better interest rate. I have a very thoughtfully designed process for pre-approving them, for qualifying them, and for homebuyer education. I want to empower them to make the best decision when it comes to their financing strategy. I've invested a respectable amount of time and energy and money in my skills as a lender, as an advisor, as a market expert. I'm literally pursuing a master's degree right now so that I can better help my clients in the market and with their relationship with money. I have a process to get their offer accepted so that sellers know they've been properly qualified and that I will deliver on my promise to get them a loan. Why am I bragging about this to you? If someone asks me why they should work with me over my competition, I can confidently and quickly answer that question. And I don't hide from the fact that I'm not the cheapest. I'm transparent and I will show them how that I will actually save them money in the big picture. My point in this is that someday in the near future, you might be sliding a buyer-broker agreement across a table to someone who will ask you why they should work with you as their agent, even if it's going to cost them money. Are you ready with your value proposition? Because if not, let me help you. Let's get together and I will help you be prepared for that moment.